Toes for true crime. 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 Toes for true crime.
Could the Moscow, Idaho murders be more than just a street crime? An intriguing question indeed. We're talking about the heart-wrenching case of the Idaho quadruple murders, the tragic loss of Ethan Chapin, Zana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Gonsalves. A case that has baffled many with its lack of solid evidence, DNA, and credible witnesses. A case that seems to be shrouded in mystery and ambiguity. But what if we're looking at this all wrong? What if these murders have ties to something greater than your average drug deal gone bad or a golf and gambling debt that went unpaid? Let's examine an interesting detail. Kaylee Gonsalves' LinkedIn account. After the tragic murders of the University of Idaho students, Kaylee's sister attempted to access her LinkedIn page, only to find it mysteriously unresponsive and later removed entirely. This unusual activity sparked considerable media attention. But here's where it gets intriguing. Steve Gonsalves, Kaylee's father, had a LinkedIn account that boasted of his success with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, painting him as a multi-millionaire. Yet following the tragedy, the information was inexplicably deleted. Now the question that hangs in the air is, why would a father, mourning the loss of his daughter in such horrific circumstances, choose to alter his LinkedIn account? Could the details of his success with cryptocurrency somehow be connected to the gruesome events of that fateful November night? Or is this just a grieving father attempting to protect his privacy during an unimaginably painful time? As we delve deeper into this mystery, these questions will continue to puzzle us, prompting us to look beyond the surface and uncover the truth. Why would a grieving father alter his LinkedIn account after such a horrific event? Coincidentally, the collapse of FTX happened just a day before the Idaho murders. It wasn't just any ordinary downfall. FTX, a titan in the realm of cryptocurrency exchange platforms, crumbled under the weight of its own fraud, causing a loss of billions of dollars for unsuspecting customers and investors. FTX had been on a meteoric rise since its launch in 2019, swallowing struggling competitors and deploying aggressive marketing campaigns. It was a force to be reckoned with. But behind the scenes, a nefarious plot was brewing. It was discovered that customer funds were being funneled into accounts controlled by Alameda Research, a cryptocurrency trading firm. The first crack in the FTX facade appeared with the publication of an article that exposed its lack of diversification and close ties to Alameda Research. The balance sheet of FTX was a financial horror story, with staggering liabilities and a conspicuous absence of audited financial reports. Then, like a house of cards, FTX began to collapse. In just 10 days, the value of its digital token, FTT, plummeted, triggering mass withdrawals and resulting in billions of dollars in losses. The once mighty FTX was brought to its knees, filing for bankruptcy when it could no longer bridge the gap between what was owed and what could be paid. The kingpin of this financial disaster, FTX's founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, was arrested on multiple counts of fraud. He bought his freedom temporarily, at least, with a staggering $250 million bond. The aftermath of FTX's collapse was a chaotic scramble to recover assets. By January 2023, $5 billion had been recovered, but a whopping $8 billion was still missing. The fall of FTX sparked a wave of legal action. Investors, their trust shattered and pockets emptied, filed a class action lawsuit. The arrest of Bankman-Fried led to discussions about the need for stricter regulation of the cryptocurrency industry. Could there be a connection between these seemingly unrelated events? Was it merely a coincidence that the FTX collapse and the Idaho murders occurred so close together? Or could there be more to this story than meets the eye? Interestingly, the Farmington State Bank, also known as Moonstone Bank, located in Whitman County near Pullman, Washington, has ties to FTX. This digital lender, which once offered banking services for industries such as crypto and cannabis, abruptly decided to change its operations. It chose to return to its roots as a community bank, shedding the Moonstone Bank moniker and resuming its original name, Farmington State Bank. But what's more intriguing is the fact that this bank had a considerable amount of FTX deposits. Reports indicate that it held nearly $50 million in FTX deposits, and this wasn't a mere coincidence. The bank was acquired by FBH Corporation in 2020, which received venture capital funding from none other than Alameda Research, the very firm that FTX had been diverting customer funds to. The plot thickens when we learn that federal prosecutors seized $50 million from Farmington State Bank. This seizure was part of a scheme allegedly orchestrated by Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of FTX, to defraud investors through his cryptocurrency exchange business. The funds were seized from an account under the name FTX Digital Markets at Farmington State Bank. This seizure represented more than half of the bank's total assets. Now let's bring in another character to this intriguing story. Meet Jean Chalopin, a French bank executive and former animation producer. Chalopin acquired Farmington State Bank in 2020 and renamed it Moonstone Bank. He intended to offer services to the blockchain and cannabis industries, showing his connection to the cryptocurrency world. In the light of these connections and the sudden change of operations at the bank, one can't help but wonder, is it possible that this bank is more than just a player in the financial sector? Can there be a deeper, darker story here, interwoven with the fabric of the cryptocurrency industry, white-collar crime, and perhaps even the tragic events that unfolded at the University of Idaho? Now, let's consider Brian Colberger's role in all this. Colberger, a character shrouded in mystery, has been compared to the infamous criminal Israel Keys. But the question is, does this comparison hold any water? Or are we dealing with something far more complex? Colberger, like Keys, was known for his intelligence and cunning, but unlike Keys, who was a lone wolf, we find Colberger at the center of a web of connections. Connections to the victims, to the University of Idaho, to Greek fraternities, and even to the world of high finance. It's these connections that give pause and compel us to delve deeper. One must ask, what role might Colberger have played in the financial machinations that seem to be intertwined with this case? Could he have been a pawn, a middleman, or perhaps even a mastermind? And what about his ties to the victims? 4 bright, promising students whose lives were cut brutally short. What secrets might they have stumbled upon, and did these secrets cost them their lives? Then there's the question of the smiley face killers and the strange twilight language that seems to permeate this case. Could Colberger be part of a copycat scheme, or is this just another red herring designed to distract and confuse? Perhaps most intriguingly, there's the question of the address, 1122 King Road, an address that seems to be a nexus point for a multitude of threads in this complex tapestry. What significance does this address hold, and how does it tie back to Colberger? So could Brian Colberger be a key piece in this intricate puzzle? Considering all these factors, could we be dealing with a white-collar crime? As we delve deeper into the mysterious circumstances surrounding the Idaho murders, it's crucial to open our minds to the possibility of white-collar crime. Generally, white-collar crimes are non-violent offenses committed by business people or government officials that involve financial matters, property, or fraud. The motivations behind these crimes are often driven by a desire for financial gain, a need to cover up other illegal activities, or a wish to maintain a certain lifestyle. Now let's consider the Idaho murders. On the surface, these were violent, brutal acts. But could there be an undercurrent of financial motives that we're overlooking? The connection with the collapse of FTX, the curious activities around Farmington State Bank and Moonstone Bank, and the unusual LinkedIn activity of Steve Gonsalves, all these factors point to a deeper, more complex narrative. Organized crime is another aspect we can't ignore. These groups often engage in a wide range of criminal activities, including white-collar crimes, to fund their operations. Could the Idaho murders be somehow linked to such an organization? The intriguing part is these crimes often go unnoticed due to their complex nature and the high social status of the perpetrators. They're like an intricate puzzle, where each piece is a clue that leads us closer to the truth. The Idaho murders could be one such puzzle, with pieces scattered across the fields of cryptocurrency, banking, and social media. We also need to consider the potential involvement of Brian Colberger. As we've discussed before, his connection to this case is questionable, to say the least. Could he be a pawn in a larger game, or is he perhaps pulling the strings behind the scenes? The Idaho murders may not be as straightforward as they appear. Could they be part of a larger, more complex web of white-collar crime? As we continue to dig deeper, the truth may prove to be stranger than fiction. In conclusion, the Idaho murders present an intriguing mystery. The unusual activity surrounding the LinkedIn accounts of Kaylee Gonsalves and her father, Steve, raises a series of puzzling questions. Why would a grieving father delete crucial information about his wealth from his profile? The collapse of FTX, a major cryptocurrency platform, on the 12th of November, closely followed by the horrendous murders of the 4 University of Idaho students on the 13th, suggests a timeline that is too coincidental to ignore. It's a story that involves the failures of Moonstone Bank, formerly known as Farmington State Bank, and its intricate ties to the volatile world of cryptocurrency. And then there's Brian Colberg, a figure whose role in this mystery remains as elusive as ever. We are left grappling with the question, could he possibly be a key player in this saga? As we delve deeper into the circumstances surrounding these murders, it becomes increasingly clear that this is no ordinary case of street crime. The intricate details and the potential involvement of high-stakes financial operations point towards the possibility of a more complex white-collar crime narrative. While the evidence is circumstantial, it's worth pondering. Could the Idaho murders be linked to a larger web of white-collar crime?